Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Tuesday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. It's opening night and we've got some bold predictions for the 2022-23 season. That's next on Locked On Lakers.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. Always free, never behind a paywall. And Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you go to see the show and often get the show hours, Andy, hours before the audio-only Luddites out there who just, don't want to watch the thing. They just want to hear it.
Or the blind.
Or the blind. I guess
who you just lost from our demographic with your insensitivity, Brian. Nice work.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Follow my solo podcast, though. I care about you. This is Andy, by the way.
Locked On My Appreciation for the Blind with Andy Kamenetsky.
Yeah.
All right, so bold predictions for the 2022-23 season. 2022-23 season, yes, which starts tonight.
Yes. Yes, it does.
Well, no, the reason I stopped is because Billy Mack on the broadcast the other night said something referencing the 2019-2020 season, but he referred to it as since 1920 and quickly stopped to correct himself because it sounded like he was talking about something that hadn't happened since 1920, the actual year. So, I just want to make sure I'm being clear for people. So especially after that whole thing about the blind people, I was already stepped in it once. So we'll get to some bold predictions for the season, which begins tonight. But first, some housekeeping. We learned at practice on Monday that Dennis Schröder is going to be out for 3 to 4 weeks. He's going to have a procedure. I believe it's on his thumb.
Yeah, it's been unclear whether or not this is a finger or a thumb issue. I've seen
it pronounced finger or funger. What happens if you put an umlaut over an I?
It doesn't sound like ooh. I can tell you that much. Generally speaking, you got to pick your spots with those jokes. You got to make sure that you're actually hitting the right umlauted accent. But I've seen it reported as both finger or thumb. Either way, it's on his hand.
You just called it a finger.
Yeah. Either way, it's going to keep him out a while.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter, I guess, in that sense. Personally, I would rather injure a finger than a thumb. We talked on Monday's show.
I've broken my thumb and dislocated my finger. Both hurt.
Both hurt, but losing. I've had thumb surgery, and you are a useless person when you can't use your thumbs.
Yeah, had mine in a cast twice. It was terrible.
It's just, you cannot do anything with a broken thumb. It's terrible. Broken thumb, also underrated on the injury scale. Toes. Screw up a toe. People really underrate how much that messes with you when you hurt a toe.
Oh, yes, it does.
So anyway, we talked on Monday's show how, at least in terms of Russell Westbrook, this offers at least some opportunity. Perhaps like if you moved Russ to the bench, you could do it without sacrificing playing time. Like there will be some more minutes there. So at least initially in the season, it could be something that softens that blow a little bit. There are a few different, it's hard to know exactly what the impact on the rotation is or the impact on what it looks like, because we didn't really see Dennis play.
No, he played 9 minutes before he ended up injuring this finger or thumb. But what's interesting about it is for these 3 to 4 weeks that he's expected to be out, like you mentioned, it creates more opportunity for Russ if he ends up playing off the bench. Russ, by the way, was listed as day-to-day.
Game time decision probably for tonight.
Could be. And he went through what was described as a light practice on Monday, but it seems like he was a full participant. If I had to guess, and it's purely a guess, he's going to play.
Right. I'm just saying Jovan Buha, the Athletic, for example, said he was essentially a game time decision.
Right. But
just passing on the news.
Beyond the fact that it could create more possible minutes for Russ off the bench, it also creates to some degree cover for playing him off the bench. Like the idea of we need somebody to do the role that we envisioned for Dennis. It needs to be Russ out of utility as opposed to, demotion or, realignment, transition, however you want to put it. Like
whatever euphemism you want to put to, we're going to do something that Russ doesn't really want to do.
Well, the other thing too, though, as far as, big picture with the Lakers, with the rotation, to whatever degree you consider Dennis Schroeder's talent to be essential or important to this team, losing it hurts. It does declutter, though, a big question for this team with so many guards. And even if you're looking to go small, you're still not going to have an opportunity to play all of these guys. There's going to be some people pissed off about their role. You can't get mad, though, if you're hurt.
Right. And this is one of the things that I know I had mentioned over the course of the last few weeks, like to some degree, like the Lakers have too many guards. There's no question. They have way too many guards. And the only way to get guys on the floor is to go small. And I think that's part of the impetus behind that. I think it's, Darvin Ham talked about it on Monday. You like what it does for Anthony Davis. It pulls the, shot blockers away from the basket of AD. You have to respect the perimeter game. All this stuff. There's tons of basketball reasons that are just specific to Anthony Davis that make AD at the 5 make sense. But the other one that is specific to the Lakers roster is it does open up playing time for your best players. You can play Kendrick Nunn more. You can play, when he's healthy, Schröder more. Lonnie Walker, if he pans out, it opens up space for Austin Reeves, for Matt Ryan, if you feel that he can handle that and actually does provide the shooting that you think you might need on the floor. Obviously, Patrick Beverley is going to play. And like there's no shortage of dudes who can still go out and find some burn, even if Schröder misses a month. I just, you don't want these things to work themselves out too much. And then also too, the Lakers are thin at other positions. So like, Troy Brown not being able to start the season active and playing hurts. If they were to lose Juan Toscano-Anderson or, Wenyen Gabriel, or I think I just named their entire reserve front court, like that could cause more problems. But losing a guard isn't the end of the world.
No, if you're going to lose from a position, guard is absolutely the slot to go. But we'll see where this goes with Dennis. But if nothing else, it does in certain respects make it a little bit easier to start the season. And hopefully, if things go well, you actually can create an environment where nobody is going to rock the boat, whether they're playing or not, because you're actually succeeding. So we'll see.
That is a huge aspect of getting off to a good start. And, AD talked about it on Monday. It's like you open with 2 really tough games, Golden State and a healthy Clippers team. These are probably, I think, reading around, the 2 early favorites in the West. I would say most of the love is going to those 2 teams. Those are your first 2 opponents. And so if you can get off to a good start and win some games, you're 5-2, 4-3 or something after playing 7 playoff or playoff hopeful teams in the first 7 games. That starts to build a little momentum, starts to go a long way towards what you're talking about, which is a situation where even if you are upset, you can't say anything because things are going well, and nobody wants to be that guy. Nobody can be that guy. Nobody is going to be that guy. I think on a LeBron-led squad, except for maybe LeBron, but he would be the only one.
He's earned the right to rock the boat on a LeBron team.
Right, it's his boat.
If he wants to sink the damn thing, it's his.
Right, it's the SS LeBron, and he can do whatever he wants. It's bold prediction time, Andy. The 2022-23 season is here. There is a great degree of uncertainty around the Lakers. We will clear it all up for you over the next 20 minutes. That's next.
Locked On Lakers brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain you have access to the best qualified candidates available, and that's why you got to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. It's easy to lay out all the info about your company, the work environment that you look to foster, the type of employees that you want, examples of the projects that you do. And then from there, just add your job to you're looking to fill and the purple hashtag hiring frame for your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. 2022, it is coming to a close very soon. It is important to finish out your business, the fiscal year, very strong. So small businesses rate LinkedIn jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. So LinkedIn jobs, they help you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnba to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Okie doke, Andy. We do this every year. And by every year, I mean, we did it last year. So
yeah,
it is now officially a yearly tradition.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is bold predictions, not just regular predictions. Anybody can make regular predictions, like, boring stuff. It's super safe, but that's not why we're here. We're here to make bold predictions, borderline crazy. And that we'll see how they play out. Personally, this is my philosophy on bold. I got to be honest with you. A lot of my bold predictions are things that just kind of popped into my brain and a kind of a gut feeling. And I tried not to think about them too much after that, because then I feel like you will unbolden your bold prediction. The boldest stuff starts out that way, and you got to leave it there.
LeBron will go on a bank robbing crime spree.
How did you see my list?
Just popped in my head, but I got to go with it.
I do actually.
What my gut said.
I love these sort of scenarios, where people double lives, the idea of athlete on LeBron's level as master art thief or something like that. Love this. I love this idea of that kind of double life. So if that turns out to be true, I think it'd be great.
It's a great idea. The problem with LeBron is he's too famous. He's too visible.
He's also too tall.
He's too everything. LeBron cannot, even a guy we're talking really quick, not to go too far down the rabbit hole, even though we already have, but you mentioned art thief, which is a type of criminality both of us really enjoy. Pierce Brosnan is this stunningly handsome human being in the Thomas Crown Affair that obviously would stand out in the sense that he makes, most normal people just look hideous, but he's not otherwise somebody that would stand out in a, wait a minute, what, that guy's unusual on about 10 different fronts. And, he's otherwise a stranger. LeBron is one of the most famous people on the planet.
Pick a different thing. I'm just saying it doesn't even have to be LeBron, but just the idea of famous person leaving that kind of double
Matt
life,
Ryan, art thief. That could actually work out.
I'm convinced Marcelo Huertas used to spend his weekends in Venice hustling people.
I hope he did.
Yeah.
Venice Beach,
all right.
California.
You want to, as opposed to just Venice.
Yes.
Which he probably also did. He's Marcelo Huertas.
No, he's actually probably more recognized in Europe.
It's true. He's the catalyst. Do you want to start? What's your first bold prediction for the 2022-23 season?
We just spoke about Russell Westbrook and the possibility of coming off the bench. My first bold prediction is if Russell Westbrook is on the Lakers the entire season and plays off the bench for the entire season as opposed to being on the team the entire year, but exiled or out of the rotation, but he is clearly the Lakers' bench point guard in a solidified, meaningful role. Russell Westbrook will finish top 5 in 6-man of the year voting. He is going to end up heavily in that mix, Brian, for a few reasons. Why? What do NBA voters love? They love stories, they love narratives, and they love, Brian, when athletes humble themselves. Oh, do writers love when an athlete humbles themselves. So Russ coming off the bench would be the perception of humbling himself.
Absolutely. And if it starts early enough, the only reason I didn't go with that is, and really, frankly, didn't go with anybody getting 6-man of the year votes for the Lakers, is I don't think they're going to have a consistent 6-man. I don't think there's going to be a consistent enough person who plays 65 games off the bench. God, I hope there's somebody who can play 65 games. Just it means they're available. But like, I think Kendrick Nunn's going to start too many games. I think Austin Reeves is going to, all these guys, whether you think they're going to play well enough or not, Lonnie Walker is going to start a few games. Like, I just feel like the lineup is going to shift too much for any one guy. Although I agree with you, if they turn Russ on day one into a 6th man of the year, and if he is there all season long, I agree with you. He will garner votes, assuming, obviously got to play well. But I thought about that one for sure. And you know what? I think it dovetails well into my first bold prediction because it's relevant to the scenario that you just laid out. Russell Westbrook will not be traded this season.
Ooh. Share more.
So he may not be on the team all year, but he's going to be on the team all year.
So you think ultimately they're not going to get the deal that they decide is worth 2 first-round picks?
I think as the season goes along, there isn't going to, if they didn't want to pull the trigger at the beginning of the season on the Indiana deal, which is, I think everybody sort of sees right now and agree is the sort of the benchmark for probably good enough. Like, is it as good as you'd want it to be? Is it good enough to get you where you want to go? But is
good
it
as it's going to get?
Is it as good as it's going to get, at least for right now? I don't think much is going to come along that's better. You might find things that are kind of comparable. You might find the same Indiana deal. But the longer the season goes on, either the season won't be worth rescuing, potentially, or you are playing well enough that you might not get the upgrade out of a deal like the Indiana deal that you would want. Or like you've made the point too, at some point they might feel that there's just a diminishing return, that even if they get a good trade, if it's limited kind of to this year, the impact doesn't last further, then you can't integrate the pieces longer. I don't think the deal is going to develop that will be better than the one they think they have for the offseason, where you can create cap space, where you keep the picks, where you can make trades that it's not just about free agents. You can also absorb players into that cap space. I think Rob Pelinka, with his space and flexibility fetish, is going to believe that is ultimately the best route, because there's a lid for every pot.
That's his tab when he goes to a certain site.
Mm-hmm.
Flexibility fetish.
Mm-hmm.
It's surprisingly family friendly. It's very eggheady. It's just a bunch of
cap flexibility, right? Regular flexibility probably shows you some things that aren't safe.
No.
Salary cap.
Right.
It's important to be specific.
The one that Pelinka goes to, actually, you can't. It is safe for work. It's just boring for work, right? But it's safe.
Yes, Mrs. Pelinka approved him going to.
No, she doesn't. She thinks it's boring as hell.
No, but it's better than some of the other ones,
I guess.
So yeah, I think Russell Westbrook finishes the season on the Lakers roster, if not on the Lakers bench.
No, that's interesting. We both, one way or the other, are foreseeing Russ on the team the whole year. My next bold prediction: Kendrick Nunn plays 75 games for the Lakers and is re-signed long-term this offseason. He's looked, I think, both good in the preseason, but more importantly, healthy. Not like somebody they're being cautious with, that they're trying to ramp up incrementally. He's entering his prime. He's just 27. Like, he's not young per se, but he's not old. And he fits with
what we call the Anthony Davis timeline.
Well, he's also, though, for a 27-year-old, he has very little NBA mileage. Like, he's played less than 4,000 minutes.
Right, in part because he missed an entire season due to injury.
No, I understand that, but he also entered the league later than a lot of people who are 27 typically do. And I think he's going to average somewhere around 15 to 18 off the bench, and the Lakers are going to re-sign him because A, he'll have earned that. B, they're going to have no ability to bring in anybody else of his caliber as a free agent, either because they've traded into next season's cap space or they're going to have the cap space after Russ is off the books. But he's going to be among the few quality players they'll have access to, and they can't let him walk. Plus, clutch players get paid.
Yeah, I mean, he could get signed. He could be trade eligible. But I agree with you. I agree with you on the first point that he's going to have a good season. And more signs that people are forgetting about Kendrick Nunn. People just forget about Kendrick Nunn. And we talked earlier in the offseason when ESPN was doing summer league games and they put up the Lakers depth chart and completely omitted Kendrick Nunn from the roster. He wasn't even on there. I play in a shark fantasy football league, or fantasy basketball league. These are like 14 super dialed in people where like nobody slides, nobody misses anything. There are no sleepers. Kendrick Nunn made it to the 15th round because everybody forgot him.
Wow.
I was shocked and angry at myself for not remembering that Nunn was still on. I think it probably reached a point where everybody thought he'd been drafted, but he hadn't been. And he made it to the 15th round in this league.
Okay, without naming names, I know at least two other people. I'm not in this league, but I know at least three other people in this league who either cover the Lakers or are close enough to the Lakers that they might as well cover the team. 3 off the top of my head, besides you.
Completely forgot. I completely forgot that he wasn't there. But you know what? I forgot. I did. I made a huge mistake. I had my little prep sheet of like, this is a draft you got to prepare for, or like you're just done. And I have like 15, 20, 30 names, like all the way through guys you might want to pick up late. I forgot to put Kendrick Nunn on the list. Wow. You know why? Because everybody forgets about Kendrick Nunn and the impact that he's going to have. I agree with you. I think he's going to have a big season. And I do think he has an excellent chance of staying a Laker for a while for all the reasons that you mentioned. I will come back with my next big and bold prediction next. Okay, Andy. I'm going to say I've probably won. Like that's sort of, I think we each have sort of a season prediction kind of thing.
Yeah, I've got a couple more like that have been. I've had a few that are positive, a few not as positive, and then of course the season prediction.
Right. So I will save that last one. I'll go to this one. LeBron James will play more than 65 games this season.
Ooh.
There was a time, Andy, when such a statement was not bold. It would have been the milk toasty type predictions that I poo-pooed at the beginning of this segment. It's not that anymore. I mean, 65, 70 for a lot of stars around the league. That 70 game, 65, 70 game threshold. It's kind of like the most anybody plays now. I do think LeBron is going to be healthy enough to play 65 games this year plus, which would be a massive deal for the Lakers.
It's also very good for him chasing down Kareem's record and getting it this season. Every single game matters along that.
Can I pat on to that? Because my next one about LeBron was that. Yeah, I think LeBron's chasing Kareem, passing Kareem is going to be I'm trying to think about how to phrase this, a much bigger and sort of happier, well-received story nationally than it will be locally. I don't think Lakers fans can be covered to death. Don't get me wrong. I don't think Lakers fans are going to be as enthusiastic about it as sort of the national interest in LeBron passing Kareem.
It depends on how the team's doing. Because when LeBron passed Kobe, even with it being Kobe, the sense I got were that more Laker fans were pleased and happy about it and found joy in it. It helped that Kobe gave, tragically, it was the night before Kobe passed away, but it was he sent out that congratulatory tweet to LeBron, and it was in Philadelphia, which made it a really cool, bit of serendipity on top of it. But I got a sense that Laker fans were actually pretty excited about this. Certainly not as mixed feelings as I think it would have been if LeBron had done it his first season in LA. I think his first season, it could have been met with downright hostility. So I think it's actually going to depend a lot on how the Lakers are doing this year.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, if the team is playing really well, I think it'll go differently. If they are not, I don't think locally people will be very enthusiastic about it at all.
Let me offer the flip side to that coin, Brian. Anthony Davis will play fewer than 60 games. I didn't
draft him.
I just feel like we've gotten off to an I'm going to start, he's had a long offseason to get himself as fresh and ready as possible. And there's already a back issue to monitor. And like, even if it's not serious and it doesn't even seem like it's serious, it exists. Backs are tricky. And it just feels emblematic of the mysterious Rubicon of trying to keep.
It is it's such a long year.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how you shepherd him through it. If the Lakers were better, like just on paper better, Anthony Davis would probably be the most consequential player in the NBA. Like the variance in Anthony Davis between 35 game last year Anthony Davis and dude who's been in the preseason, if that guy plays 65 to 70 games.
He's Kawhi Leonard with the Clippers.
Yes. But I think even, potentially more so. Just like, I feel like Kawhi, you know what you're going to get. Where like if he plays, he's going to play really. Like there's still even that variance in which Anthony Davis are you going to get.
Here's why I actually think it's going to be more frustrating, doubly frustrating. When he plays this year, if it's 55, 61 games, whatever, 38. I think let's hope it's not 38, but let's just say it's 55. Those 55 games, I think AD is actually going to play really well.
I will do my season-related bold prediction.
Okay.
And you tell me if you get where I'm going with this.
Okay.
The Lakers will not be in the play-in tournament.
Because you think they're going to miss the play-in?
Or
they're going to make the playoffs outright.
I realize that if you do the outcome thing, like the bell curve, most of the outcomes for the Lakers have them finishing 7 through 10. I get it. And if I were like mathematically, I feel like that's the one that makes the most sense. Remember how I said earlier in the show, like you wake up, you got a feeling and you just go and you stop thinking about it. This is the one I had about this team. I just have this feeling that it's either going to go well enough that they surprise people and they end up in the top 6, or they're not going to miss it like they did last year. Like I don't know. And I don't know which one.
Okay.
But that they will not be in the play-in. That is my bold prediction for the season.
Okay. It's interesting you say that. I don't know. There's a chance people might not be able to read my writing, but right here where my finger is, it says season 46, meaning 46 win, 6 seed, 1 round in the playoffs. They go 1 round in the playoffs. That is my bold prediction.
You mean they make it to the second round?
They make it to the second round from the 6th seed. That is my bold prediction. I think the Lakers are not going to be as good as the optimism that led into last season. And you and I were among the optimists, even as we acknowledged the many question marks the team had. We just ultimately thought they would rise above it. But I don't think they are as bad as the lingering pessimism, understandable as it is, from the way last season ended.
No, that's true. But they might. I mean, they are better than even the people who don't know what to do with the Lakers. Don't think they think if everybody's healthy, they are better than they were last year. They are put together better than they were last year. My biggest problem with your prediction there, I don't think 46 wins gets you in the top 6.
I think it will. I actually went through last year's standings. I don't think there's going to be as many wins to go around as last year. Because
so you're kind of going with parity here.
Yeah, because Phoenix, I don't think is going to win 64 games again. Memphis is missing Jaren Jackson Jr. to begin the season, so I think their total may drop down a bit. Golden State, I don't think is going to be looking to win as many. Utah clearly is going to be out. The Clippers are probably going to be cautious with Paul George to some degree, but definitely Kawhi. I don't think it's actually going to be quite as many as last year. Dallas, I don't picture getting better than last year.
No,
so I think there's going to be more
better.
So I think there's going to be more.
Denver could be. The Timberwolves could be.
They could be, but
the Pelicans probably. But the Pelicans are a team that eat into that. There's a sort of crabs in a bucket kind of feel to the West this year.
So I think
crabs are real jerks when you put them in a bucket.
I think 46 will be enough.
Huh. That's a sound argument for that. There aren't enough terrible teams in the West. Like genuinely terrible. Because I don't even think the Thunder are going to be terrible. Not on any given night. The Rockets could look good every fourth night. That is an interesting one. So you think they get in outright as a 6 seed? That would mean they're paying off the optimistic side of my bold prediction, which is they won't be a play-in team.
Yeah.
I hope. I mean, look, I'd rather they be a play-in team than like a disaster. Like I don't want that again. Last year sucked. It was no fun. I do not want that again. So I'll take play-in over the alternative, but oof.
No, I think there is a very good chance that they could be a solidly competitive team. I'm not predicting.
How do you get them into the? You said Anthony Davis won't play 65 games or 60 games, whatever
I don't
the number.
think he will.
How do you get?
I think everyone else will stay relatively healthy.
Okay.
And the games that he does play, he's really, really good in. So
and they win. Their record with Anthony Davis is just outstanding.
They stack a lot of wins when Anthony. I think he is going to play very well. I am not confident about his availability, but I think he is going to be better than last year's version that was not available enough. And I think LeBron is going to be more available than last year. I think the roster is going to be more available than last year. And I think last year's roster is not as good as this year's roster.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. So, all right. Well, this is very exciting. Those were some bold predictions. I did have one about Matt Ryan, but I couldn't. That Matt Ryan will start more games then, and I couldn't figure out who to put in that other thing. Partially because all that conversation about flexible starting lineups. But anyway, first real game to talk about tonight.
Yeah,
tonight, Andy. We'll have a real game to talk about. I'm very excited about this. Should be a fun one. And we will see everybody Wednesday, right? Wednesday.